Suga from Suga Friendz podcast. Thank you for watching. I am joined here today with the legendary, the iconic singer, songwriter, MC Monae Marleau. Woo!
Yes, I'm super duper duper excited to be here today.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. You released the album at the bottom of last year, but I had already known you. You're everywhere on the internet. Everywhere you turn and look, there's Monae Marleau. So I'm like, I have to tap in with her. I was like, no, I have to have her on the podcast. Like, this just isn't enough. Like, I feel like everybody needs to hear from Monae Marleau. So I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Of course, I'm honored. This is actually my first interview, so
Is it really?
yeah.
Wow, because everybody needs to tap in with you, girl. Well, thank you for having Suga Friendz be the first to interview you. I'm really honored. Just a little bit about me. I'm Alex Raquel. I started Suga Friendz to tap in with underground artists or emerging artists before they pop, before they break. I think you all's story is important. Before that moment happens. Just like you said, I'm your first interview, so people be
Right.
able to come back and watch this interview and be like, oh,
That
and they'll hear it from you. They'll hear everything about your story. So we'll start at an introduction. So just tell me a little bit about yourself. I already know where you're from, but I want to have the audience, whoever watched this back, hear it from Monae Marleau, where you're from and who you are, where you come from. Just give us a little bit of a synopsis.
okay. Well, I was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. The Bay, 813. um, I started doing music there when I was a kid, like 8 years old. I've been doing music basically my whole life, but I just uh, recently moved out here to Atlanta. I'm, border area, but not Atlanta. But you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Now I'm out here. I'm working with equity distribution. So I got a chance to be able to, branch out, start doing some new stuff. So, just released that last album. So
Yes. Well, congratulations. I knew you were from Tampa already. I'm like, well, wait a minute now, because I'm from the South. I'm from the New Orleans area. So I'm like,
yeah,
the swamp girl, swamp me, swamp, we grew up in the
exactly.
swampy
Yeah,
place. So I'm like, I gotta have her on the podcast because not only is she incredibly talented, but she's also a girl from the South and she's from the swampy place like me from
yes.
Louisiana. So like, I gotta have you on. Starting from when you're 8 years old, that's really, really young, but I'm not surprised because that raw talent, you can tell you've been doing this for a really long time. And you're from Tampa, Florida. So I'm just curious, as a Southern person, I think my Southern identity intersects a lot with who I am creatively. I think a special thing about me doing podcasting is that I'm from the South and I listen to music and do music discovery. So has being from Tampa, Florida, like specifically impacted your style or even concepts within your music and the stories that you tell?
I can definitely say so. Like, just for example, with Hood Baby, that's a very home feeling song. Like you feel warm and fuzzy. The first line is they say I love you. I love you like your mama's greens.
You
Like
ain't
it's just
perfect, but you right for me.
yeah, like it's real southern because like that's what we know, the southern hospitality. Everybody
Right.
knows it's love. So definitely, yeah.
Yes. See, I knew it because I'm like, when I heard that line from Hood Baby, I'm like, oh, okay, yes. I already know that Southern identity and I love it. It's intersecting with your music and it's creating concepts and themes. Tell me a little bit more specifically about your musical background. So you said you started at 8, but I want to know because you blend R&B and hip hop extremely well, right? There are times where you're singing and then you go back and you're rapping, and I'm like, wow, like it's so seamless. So tell me a little bit. Did you grow up listening to a lot of hip hop and R&B? Just kind of tell me how that grew into you merging the two in your music.
Right. I did not really. Well, okay, I can't say I didn't grow up listening to a lot of hip hop, but like my mom was like an R&B girly. And then before then, like when I was younger, like like from like 5 to the age of like 9, I used to go to church all the time. I was raised in the church. We sung.
Yeah, Southern girls.
Yeah, I was the youth choir director. Like I was singing like so I started off singing, but then once I stopped doing that, like I stopped doing the choir thing. I wanted to rap because my mom would always listen to like Plies,
Hmm.
Easy and Wayne and stuff like that. So I was like, dang, I want to rap, and I would make my own stuff. And then I actually stopped singing for a while, and I would only rap. And then I bounced back and forth for a while
Mm,
until one day I was like, I need to fix, because people would always ask me, well, which one do you want to do? You got to choose one. You got to choose one. And I'm like, I don't want to. And
mm.
I guess I finally found a way to make them like blend together, like you say, seamlessly. And I think I found my sound with that.
Yes, you really have, because listening to your album, we're about to go into it in a minute. You do it so well. There are times where I think your timing is incredibly well. Just when I need that emotional punch, here you come with like the beautiful singing. But when I need to hear it, you put words together in a slick way, to make me really understand a concept. Here you are with the rapping. And so I'm like, dang, this girl do it all. And you're doing it, you're filling a lot of gaps. So I want to specifically talk about your album while I have you here. Where's the fire? Dot 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 question mark.
Yeah. Where's
So
the
let's start with the title, because I went to school for English. I really love words, and I was like, "Where's the fire?" Dot 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 question mark. What's the question mark for? Tell me a little bit about the title. How'd you come up with it?
So my first project was Now You Know.
Right.
I feel like I'm trying to create a world, like that's my thing. Like I want everything to be cohesive. So it was Now You Know, and that was because now you know I'm here. Now you know what I can do, what I kind of sound like. Like,
Mm,
you see what I can do a little. And it's
right.
like, okay, now I've done that and I've kind of proven myself. So it's
Mm,
like I'm here now. Where's the fire? What's going on? It's really a question.
right.
Where's the fire? Like where's the fire?
I know, that's how it comes off. The album is very much, it comes off in that way. Like, I'm here now. Like, what's good? Like, what's up?
Yeah,
Like,
what's
where that
happening?
smoke at? I know. Like, it very much gives it off. So when I first saw the album title, I'm like, whoa, like I'm ready to listen to this, because I already know the energy and the emotion is gonna be behind it. And it exactly was. And um as soon as I got into the album, like instantly there were some of my favorites, like Upper Room is at the top of the album, and sort of close to the middle you have Hood Baby, I Told You So, Sunday's Best, Dead Man, Dead Man, Dead Man. And some of the themes that I was recognizing in the project, sort of identity based relationships, like Journey to Music. I feel like when you listen to Where's the Fire, you can really get an understanding of how you think and what you value. And so I don't know if I'm right in that assumption. Am I right in that assumption?
You are, yeah, hit the nail on the head. Yeah, definitely.
Right. And so I'm like, well, I want to get into the specifics, like a couple of your songs specifically, because I want to leave some for the people, your audience, your fans to go listen to. But I just want to break a few of them down so we can start with Upper Room. I love this song. I've been playing it nonstop. Okay. When I tell you, I've been listening to Upper Room, just the way that you self-express is so relatable. Like the way you write about relationships is not from a victim standpoint at all, but like from an empowering standpoint. And so what I want to know from you is like, is music for you, and I guess you can make it specifically to this album and this song, like is it a therapeutic outlet for you, and sort of a healing process, or are you reflecting and looking back? Like, what does music do for you in a therapy side?
For me, it definitely is like therapeutic because I feel that I express myself better when I'm writing, because like I used to do poetry too, so and then I started to do music, so
Wow.
it's like I've always been really good with my words, and it's just a
Mm,
way to put it all on the paper. Like the things I write, I probably never would genuinely just openly say in a conversation. Like
mm,
it's really something that's just in my head. And one thing that can attest to that is the fact that like the way I record, I don't write
mm,
unless it's like in the like an official studio, because in a time limit. But like at home when I'm recording, I will just say whatever's on my mind. Like I go bar for bar, like line for line, like whatever I'm feeling, thinking is what I'm gonna put, like say and record. So
wow.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it feels like that, and you can tell because you're so intentional with what you're saying, and you in that line. But I didn't know that. This is my first time hearing that. Obviously, my first time talking to you, but you can feel that. Like
Yeah.
every single line is so intentional and it has so much power, and you can tell that it's like really coming like from within and inside you. So like I loved Upper Room because I'm like, this is a perspective that I haven't really heard. I think a lot of music right now that's out and talking about life and sort of relationships and love is like um n- from the victim standpoint, like you know what I mean?
It's
Like,
very objective.
yeah.
And I feel like when I make songs like Upper Room, it's like you said, it's reflective and it's, oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. It's reflective, but it's more so like accountable. Like it's accountability because
Ability.
yeah, it's like I'm saying, okay, you did this, or I feel this way about what you did, but damn, I shouldn't have did that. Like I should have been on my P's and Q's. Like it's just my feelings. Like
Yes, and we'll talk about another song where I specifically mentioned accountability. It's funny how you saying all the stuff that I thought when I was listening to the album. That's how I know. So
you hear,
I know we here. So like I love Upper Room. That was just a great. It was at the top of the album. It was a great way to like sort of get into the first feel of the top half of the album, but also F the game, right?
oh yeah, that's my
About
favorite.
time I gave my ass some kisses. Like, girl, I was like,
I
I know, girl.
That was a very expressive song. I heard that a track like that, like you hear something like that. Shout out to Woe, my producer. You hear something like that, and I was like, "You got this. This feels like I need to say something, get something off my chest," and
Yes.
that's what I came up with.
I know, girl. When that opened, I'm like, by the time I get my kiss, I'm like, I know that's right, girl. I'm gonna start saying that. Like just your commentary on like your journey and like your journey to music and where you've been. I think you have a lot of confidence shined in that song and like being self-assured. Yet you're appreciative, but you know where you are in the moment and where your goals are and where just where you are with the music. And so I was just curious when I listened to that song, has anything surprised you about your journey thus far to music? Because as talented as you are, it seems as if, it was written, as Nas would say, right? Like
Yeah,
it's very much like this. There's no way I could see Monet. I mean, you could do other stuff. I know you're an educated woman, but you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
music is your destiny. Like it's a part of you. So has anything surprised you so far on your journey to music?
I would say yes, and it's not something like, oh, well, I didn't expect this or like, X, Y, and Z to happen. It's more so a personal standpoint. Like you make something and you're good at something, but you always are a bit surprised when people are really responsive and really like, oh, I love this. I love you. Like this is crazy. That has happened a lot more this year for me. That's what surprised me. Like I just had a show recently, Sermons Fest back in Tampa, and people specifically brought tickets to come see me. They were shouting while they were performing on the stage. They're like, "Oh yeah, and shout out to Monet. We're here to see her. We can't wait to see her perform." And I'm like, "What?" My mom was there. She's like, "You're famous." So that was surprising. Yeah.
Yes, and I hear that a lot from artists, like especially since I work a lot with emerging or underground artists, like that's one of the main things that I hear is like, I can't believe like not that you're not talented, but it's like I can't believe that these people they listen to my music one because streaming is one thing, but coming to a show to see you,
Yeah, that's
oh, I'm like, yo,
love.
mama, now you famous, or you rolling out here for
Yeah,
real.
that's love. Yeah.
Yes, that's real love. And you could tell people are like genuinely tapped into that space. So when I heard that song, I was just wondering, like, has anything surprised you this far on your journey? Because you're so confident and self-assured. But I think you're really appreciative because the way that you even tapped in back with me when I playlisted you, it's like, you're real tapped into like your fan base, because I'm a fan girl. So you real tapped to your fan base and like, you come back and be like, I'm really appreciative. Thank you so much for sharing this. So I was
It's
like, "Yes, F the game." Oh, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna just piggyback off that. It's simply because I like, yes, I'm an artist and I'm doing this and like we're doing this interview and I make music, haha. But it's like I'm also a consumer. Like I know what it feels like. Like I want everybody to win. Like I want to interact with everybody. I'm not one of those people who's like, okay, I've made it now. Like, no, I don't. I'm gonna, only talk to this. It's no. I'm I'm somebody, but we're all level. Like I don't. There's no difference.
Exactly. Yes, I love that. So I really loved F the game. That was my girl. That was my song. I was like, "Oh, this get me pumped up." I'm gonna play this anytime I got something going on. I'm gonna play F the game.
Yeah, that set the
Uh,
mood.
Yes. I want to talk about Hood Baby.
Mm. Hood, hood.
Girl.
Hood, baby, think I'm in love with you. Just wanna see the hood, baby, hood, baby, know what that love will do. I know you're from the hood, darling, think I'm in love with you. I say I love you like your mama's greens. You ain't perfect, but you're right to me.
Hood baby.
Hood Baby was the first song that I heard from you. And let me tell you something. I be in a grocery store like Hood Baby, Hood Baby. Girl, so I'm a teacher. I used to be an English teacher. I just quit.
What's that for you?
A teacher, yeah. And girl, I used to be in my class like Hood. They be like, Miss B, what you singing? I'm like, girl, you gotta check out. Like, I promise you, my students knew about Hood Baby because I was walking around I live in DC, so I was walking around. I went to Howard, so that's how I ended up here. But I was walking all around DC singing Hood Baby. Girl, I done shared it with my friends. Girl, I done shared it with my little boo girl. Everybody know about Hood Baby. The hook on it is incredible. Like, and then earlier, it's so catchy that earlier you mentioned, I love you like your mama's greens. You ain't perfect, be trying for me. Like, for a Southern person with like really Southern ideals, I was like, oh, even for a person that's not, it really puts you, like you said, it's that identity song. It really puts you in that place and it really takes you there. The music video was stunning. It felt like family. It just felt so heartwarming. And so when I heard it, I was interested in, when you're a great songwriter, like, and I say this not from like a condescending way, I say this from like there's a gap right now with songwriting, and I think that you're filling it with your work. And so I was just curious, like, how does, you kind of talked about songwriting a little bit earlier, but bar by bar, but do you start with like a melody, because Hood Baby is super melodic, or do you start with lyrics? Like, how do you come to write a wonderful song like Hood Baby?
First of all, thank you.
Yeah,
It really depends, but back to how I kind of record, like it depends on the track. But with Hood Baby, you hear that beat come on, I immediately thought of the hook. I knew the melody, like, so sometimes when I record, I'll start and I would just mumble, but I know like I know I want to say something, and then I just thought of Hood Baby, and I was like, this, because that beat just feels like something that you need to make something like full of love with, like it, like you said, it's like a very soulful track.
yeah.
And I was like, it has to be something like that, and I wanted to dedicate it to my mom, and I was like, what are we gonna talk about with this? And I was like, we from the hood, what is the story? That's
Yes.
what it is.
Yes, because you're a really great storyteller, right? And that's why I was interested about the way that you write, because the hooks, just from a technical side, like technically you're really great, but like just like you said, the storytelling, like how is storytelling like important to you when you write?
Very, because I'm like I need everything to be cohesive, because if it doesn't make sense, I don't want to listen to it. So why would somebody else want to? And I'm also like, a perfectionist. I want it to make sense to you. Like, so I want to tell a story and show you this, because when I made Hood Baby, I was like, as I write, I visualize how I want like the video or visuals to look and stuff like that. Like I do that early. So when I was doing that, I was like, what does this feel like? What does it sound like? And then I attribute the words to that. So like I do both at the same time.
Right. Yes, because I'm like, she has a lot of like complexity in her artistry. Like, I think you're really filling a lot of gaps right now. The commercial space, I have my own opinions about the commercial space. I really think underground and emerging artists are running stuff right now. And when
Yeah.
you keep producing songs like Hood Baby, or just your whole album as a whole, to us as consumers, we're like, forget commercial, because we're getting all the storytelling we need, all the good technical abilities from artists like Monae Marleau. And I would put her up against like anybody in the commercial, field. And so it's really awesome to like listen to a song like Hood Baby and be like, oh no, this deserves to be on any radio. Like, this should have already been on the radio already, you know what I mean? And push out all that other stuff that hear that, you know what I mean? So really, just really great. And everybody that I've heard from, that I've shared it with, is like, Hood Baby is like so incredible. Like, I love that song. And it's so catchy. You'll be find yourself just singing it all
I
times.
try to do that on purpose too. Like a lot of people have come to me and say like, man, I was just walking down the street. I was just, at home, and I was singing hood baby, hood baby, hood baby. Like, I'm just like so surprised, but it's like I don't say I do it on purpose. Like, oh, I say, okay, I want to make a catchy hook.
Right.
It just kind of comes, but it ends up being something catchy, and I typically do that with hooks because of that R&B and like melodic like past and experience I have, because it just comes naturally.
Right. Well, thank you so much for creating Hood Baby Girl, because I love listening to that song
You're welcome.
too. Let's talk about I Told You So. So I really love this song. You express a lot of complexities and emotions, like um from one side, I think we talked about accountability. You mentioned accountability earlier, and this is where I have my note about accountability. I think um, guilt is often an emotion that we feel when we allow people to treat us a certain way. Yet there's also an aspect of accountability that we have to take. And understanding as you reflect, and that level of accountability, understanding of what your position was, not currently, but what it was as you reflect, is like very
Right.
evident in your tone and in your writing. So I was just kind of curious, is like, what kind of emotional impact do you hope your songs have like on your audience when you write something like I Told You So?
With I Told You So, I wanted the audience to literally feel what I was feeling. Like, I wanted them to understand that reflection I was having. Like, well, I had this relationship or this experience with somebody, and I felt this way, and yeah, it pissed me off. But okay, what part did I play in this? I ignored the signs. I didn't listen to my gut, and X, Y, and Z happened, and now I feel this way. And that's how you get songs like I Told You So. But when people listen to my music, especially songs like that, I want you to be able to say, damn, like, was I the problem? Was it me? Like, think about it and see.
Yeah. And is that tough for you? I always wonder about that with artists when they're writing songs, and because you all are so candid. It's different when you're talking to your homegirls, but it's different when you're talking to thousands of people that you
Yeah.
know and you airing it out, girl. It's like, is that hard for you? Is that challenging as an artist to sort of have that balance? Like, do you feel a sense of responsibility?
Um, I would say yes and no. Like, it's not necessarily hard, because I will say for me personally, when I put a song out there, it's out there. It's no longer mine. It's for you to experience and feel. Like, if I made the song, that, like you said, like we spoke about, like, is that my therapy? It's already it's out. Like, that's me. The tradition of like writing a letter and then burning it. Like, it's out there.
Word.
So I Told You So. No, I can perform that song a million times over. Because it's done for, like, that's me expressing that I have basically. I guess the song is like the resolution, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
And everybody can relate. Like, that's another thing I keep saying. Like, your music is so relatable, not in a demeaning way, but relatable in a way that, like, everybody can listen to it and everybody can get something out of it. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's been in that situation, like you were when you were reflecting on your time and I Told You So, right? Like, everybody's knows family and love, like in Hood Baby. You know what I mean? Like, everybody, like, F whatever industry you in, you like F the game, like, I'm here, I'm
Right.
up. Like, you just have really relatable music, and like, I think everybody's going to be able to vibe and get something out of it, like, whatever message that is, however it like impacts you personally as like the audience member. And it's so refreshing. Like, it's so, to get substance is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
you're adding a lot of like substance and like relatability, and that's what we love about artists as consumers. And you said you're a consumer too, that, like, you
Exactly.
love the way I can't, as a person who's not a songwriter or an MC, like, I can't put together words like Monae Marleau, right, and articulate, but I have these feelings. And so when Monae Marleau says something that I've been dealing with, this little raggedy boy, and like, I had let him treat me like that, and then you're like, girl, this is what it is, this is what it was, and here I am.
Right. And this is how we move forward. That,
Right. I'm
like,
like,
yeah.
this is so dope. And so I Told You So was one of those songs where I'm like, Yes, like I'm gonna turn this on when I'm in that moment of accountability. Like that's a song that you listen to, you really vibe with. I felt the same way about similar with Sunday's Best. I think
Yeah.
that's more of a commentary on like genuine support from a person who is supposed to care about you and like your success. And so I was just kind of curious about like Sunday's Best in terms of in moments of like self-doubt or like challenges, like what does it mean to have genuine support, you know, and how does that positively like impact your ability to overcome obstacles or just, you know, grow as a person in your professional career as well?
My mom and my sister, like my immediate family, has definitely supported me like 110%. My mom is my biggest fan. She is the number one Monae Marleau fan. She know all the words to every song I ever released in the world.
Right, I did that right.
Even the ones from when I was a kid, like she knows them all. She believed in me from the beginning, and that played a big part. She was the reason like I was super duper confident even as a child doing music. She would be like, "Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Write a new freestyle every day." Like so, when if somebody say freestyle right now, you got a new one. Don't do the same one twice. Like my mom used to make me read the dictionary and the encyclopedia to learn new words to make my vocabulary better for rapping. Like she has always like just been like that backbone for me. So I always kind of had that swagger and that confidence. Like I'm really good. Like you can't tell me I'm bad. Like no, I don't. I'm not gonna say I'm better than everybody in the world, but I know what I could do.
Word.
So that definitely helped me because I'm even that way now. Like as an adult, even though I've grown, and I believe that even more than when I was a child. As a child, though, oops, stop, sorry. As a child, though, it made it like just 100 times better because it was even worse when I was a kid, like when I hadn't found myself. I
Yeah.
wasn't always 100% confident, but to have that support system helped.
Yes, and that's so and like that genuine because you know your mama got your back. You know that.
Yeah.
Right? Like friends, it gets shoddy, you know, like especially as you grow in your career and you know, you get a level of like fame. Even like now, like I said, you're everywhere, right? And as you grow, it's so important, I think, for underground artists to have a solid foundation, right? And your mom being so like, and your sister being impactful and that genuine support is going to matter so much because who you can trust and who you can't trust becomes
The list
woo.
is very short.
Yes, very short.
I found that out really quickly the last like 2 years. The
Yeah,
list is real short. The list is real short.
word up. And so having that good, solid backbone, like your mom and your sister and family, who you know is genuine. And I tell artists that all the time, like when you climb up that ladder, keep your real people in your life. Whereas your family, you might have a couple friends too, that's your homie since you was younger. You know they down with you because they've been down with you up until this point. Like
Right.
keep them around you. Like you can make good friends, you can make friends in the industry and somebody, nobody's saying that. But that solid foundation is like so important, and I think you kind of touch on that too. You know, people, you know, put up this mask, you know, in support, but really like you're not really that genuine, you know.
They
And
just see
I
what
know
you got
that.
going on.
Right, you just like what I got going on right now, you
Yeah.
know what I
And that has happened a lot. That I think to answer your question from earlier, that's another thing that has surprised me. Like
mean?
I knew it was gonna happen, but not to the multitude that it
Mm,
has. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like it's been multiple, like on two hands, the
right.
amount of people who have tried to spin the block, come back around and say, "Oh, you know, I love what you're doing," and da 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 da. But it's like, where were you? What are you talking about?
Heard. So I really love that because I thought you spoke on that really well, and it's such an important and from the tone of that message, it's like that's a um that's something that you know that already. So it's not like, you know, something that you're gonna always go through it, but I think you have a good mindset on that. And I just really because even, you know, us people who aren't creatives, we go through the same thing. That's just life, you know, and it trickles into, you know, the creative world. Um,
Right.
so I just wanted to ask you about that. I also love Deadman, Deadman, Deadman. Girl, you said effing with my mind and my money. That is not the
Yeah.
safest, boo. Like, yes, it
At
really
all.
ain't. It really ain't. And
And
you
ain't.
gotta watch it. Girl, when you said that I was fell out because I'm like, everything she be saying, like, I relate to this. Like, it's so relatable because yeah, don't be messing with my mind, don't be messing with my money. And
Yeah.
like all that is like so relatable. And when I heard the song, I was like, yo, like breaking free from toxicity or like challenges often involves like self-discovery. And so can you share some like insight about how you gained um like how you gained some self-discovery in this process of like your journey to music? Like outside of just who you are as an artist, but even like your personal growth in this.
I would say it took a while. I can say that. Like you know, as people, as we go through like phases of life and like things we accept and oh sorry, he's crawling in bed.
Yeah.
But things we will and won't accept, and it took a minute. I got more confident in myself as an artist. Well, I would say as an artist first, and
Yes.
then as a person as I got older and I started to realize, well, I'm not going to accept that, or I don't like that, or this rubs me the wrong way. And I started setting boundaries for myself and making my circle smaller and focusing on things that only made me happy and things that I wanted to do, whether it be creative or in my personal life. And now my circle is like 3 people, like 4 people,
Sure.
and
That's
I
all
can
you need.
exactly, and I can focus on the things that I need to, and it just makes it easier. So, yeah.
Right, dead man. All unnecessary BS don't got to be in my life. Like, goodbye, you gone, you out of here. And I found, and self-discovery is constant, right? Like, it's not something that happens once, it's like recurring. But when I heard that, like, that song, it just kind of made me think about like how you break free from like toxicity and like you discover yourself and like why you here for. I had a friend who was saying, like, why you here for? Like, what is it that you're here for? Um,
Mhm.
and that song just kind of put me into that mental space. I want to talk about too how the album sounds sonically.
Mhm.
There's powerhouse elements where like there's songs that really just sound like empowering. Hood Baby is more like a melodic, right? Like there's great use of like samples. Just you just get a variety of like sounds. That's why I said like this project is really for everybody. Like
Yeah.
anything you like, any type of sound you like outside of like the great songwriting, like any sound you like, you can find it on Where's the Fire. So I'm just curious, like, was there a particular sound you were going for? Like a soundscape, when you were doing this album? Were you working with a producer, one producer or a many? Just kind of give us a little background on the sound.
So I was working with one producer. His name is Woe, out of Winter Haven, Florida. I met him back in like October of 2022. So it took us about a year to really hone in on everything. At first, he was just sending me packs, like just sending me beats. And then I would send him back a song, send him back things. I think Hood Baby probably was one of the first songs I sent him back. And he was like, whoa. No pun intended. He was
What
like,
was
whoa.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
what
what
was
was right?
right?
No pun intended. Right? So once he started to hear what I would make on the songs, because he wouldn't give me like a structure or say you should do something like this. He would just send it to me and say, "Do what you want," and I would send it back. And he's like, "Damn, okay." And then he started to get a feel of how I would go about it, and then he started to cater to my sound, like, and would make things specifically for me. So no, we didn't go in it like, okay, I want to sound like this and I want to do this. I never do that because I feel like that puts me in a box.
Mm,
So I just make music, and then at the end, when I'm like, okay, I want to do a project or I want to put a 3-pack together, I go through the songs and I say, well, what sounds good together sonically, or
mm.
what could tell a story, or how can this tell a story all together? And that's how we got Where's the Fire.
Yes, and that's so right. Like you can't put yourself into a box. I know some artists like a particular soundscape, like if you're in like the grimy Griselda, you like that drumless type beat.
Right.
For a person, an artist like you, I think, that methodology probably works best because you have a range of different sounds that your voice is comparable
Right.
for. And so I was like, yeah, like sonically, and it's good to hear that you work with one producer because that's interesting. Because if you didn't know any better, you would think it's like different people. That says good things about the producer on this project that, he has such a, large range and you all were able to come together to create so many varying sounds and have a really great sounding album. So I just want to thank you for sharing that. I just want to get a little bit about that sound on there because it's so great. You get so many different things. Um, our time is winding, so I want to ask you about the underground scene. So to me, you're a breath of fresh air. Like you're filling so many gaps. We know about the commercial space, but even in the underground space, I think you add a lot of value in terms of great songwriting. How are you navigating the emerging underground music scene, especially being from the South, because you got a lot of people who are from like the East Coast and the West Coast. And I think sometimes the South is like not as represented well, even though
Yeah.
we know a lot of Southern artists, us being from the South, you can roll off a bunch of emerging or underground talent. But do you feel there's a struggle a little bit or a challenge, or it's kind of just like I'm just here and I do what I'm here to do, and you just kind of vibe? Or do you feel like being from the South, and working in the underground emergent scene, does it impact any? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
I will say I have not really, like, I've just started to infiltrate the underground scene, especially in in Tampa and stuff like that, and network with the other artists there and stuff. But I never, because my sound like has such a range, I won't say I never like fit in, but like there was just so many different things I was doing. It was never one place that I would be like, okay, I'm, working with these artists doing this thing or doing this sound XYZ. I would just, like you said, do my own thing. And then, if someone reaches out, we want to network and we do this and do that, I'll do that. But I started to do that more back at home. And I've been in those platforms out there like Beats and Chill, Saturday Sermons, stuff like that out in Tampa. So yeah.
Right. Okay, that's great to hear, because like a lot of the industry is a lot of like East Coast and a lot of West Coast, and sometimes I think like in the South it's hard for us to like be represented or like step out and network and stuff. So I'm happy to hear that you're really in the Tampa area, and you're stepping out, and like I said, you're everywhere. So you're not even just local, like you're national at this point. Like a lot of people know Monae Marleau and is like jamming to your music, because I see you everywhere, girl.
I
um
love that.
I want to talk about content creation, because I feel like you are one of those artists that is like very in charge of like do it yourself. Like
Yeah.
even with your put out of music videos, and I seen you were doing the like lyric breakdown thing.
Yeah.
Like, talk to me about like how doing it yourself, like the DIY approach, is like significant and important as an underground or emerging artist.
I will say it's important to me because I like to be responsible for how my things come out and how they look. I'm a perfectionist. I can say to my own fault. They say if you want something done good, do it yourself. And I like to do a lot of things and I'm good at a lot of things. So I say, what the hell?
Right. Do it yourself. And that's such a good message to put out there to underground artists. Or just be not even a message from you, just like a representation, right? Like you can do it yourself. You don't have to wait for somebody to call you up to do a lyric breakdown.
Yeah,
You can do it
exactly.
yourself. Um,
Exactly.
and I see you do a lot of photography, I see you work on, your videos and doing like the lyric breakdown stuff. And I'm like, wow, she is just Miss Do It All. And that's just such a great representation to put out to like the underground space. And so that was really dope. There's so much more I could talk to you about. But just to like close this out, in our little moments, like how do you see your future? Like what's coming up for Monae Marleau? What do you have going on?
Monae Marleau has just finished a two-part album. You're the first person I told that. Monae Marleau has just finished a two-part album for next year. Oh, this year. Time has passed me by this year. Release dates and all that are, undetermined, but we are working on that. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. I'm glad we got that little exclusive.
Yes.
Um, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. We have less than a minute. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I'm just such a huge fan. I can't wait to hear more from you. I would love to have you back on,
Of
to
course.
have even more conversations. Go follow Monae Marleau on all platforms. Go stream and buy her music. If you have any else thing, you coming out with some merch or something in the future, go buy that from her. Just everything.
What the world been missing right here, bro.